Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that still barely knows what it's doing. I'm your host, Megan Thompson Mann, and this is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kirk Rafferty.
And this week we are trying out some new podcast platform recording stuff. So a little explainer if it has been a bit weird in terms of audio over the past couple of weeks. But basically, Riverside, the platform that we've been using since we started the show almost a year ago, has, using the technical term, shit the bed.
Yeah,
Terrible.
they forced this new editor on everybody that is just like it's not ready for prime time at all. It's like beta software.
Yeah.
It is terrible. And everybody's been complaining about it. But Riverside basically is just said, this is what you get. And I think like I am responsible for editing our last episode, and I don't think it's like one of my finer works at all. But at some point, I just got tired of fighting the software and was like, you know what? It's gonna be imperfect. So
Look, the one that I did the week before took me 12 hours to edit. Normally it
that's a
takes
little
me 3.
ridiculous. Yeah.
That was crazy because they shoved out this editor. They didn't beta test it at all, and their attitude online has basically been to ignore complaints and to say, this is such an improvement. Look at all these cool things that you can do. Well, um, no, I just want something that's simple. Anyway, we are trying something new this week.
We are. Oh.
Yes, yes. So how's your writing going, Kirk?
The writing is going very well. Still doing edits. Nothing's really changed on that front. I've got some things happening career-wise that I can't quite talk about yet, but
Uh, I believe the term you're looking for is I'm in my vague era.
I'm in my vague era. So it it directly affects my self-publishing plans, and I'm just gonna leave it at that right now. Maybe over the next 2 or 3 episodes, I'll be able to talk more about it, but it is kind of some exciting news. But my editing is going gangbusters. That nothing has changed with that. I'm just having fun playing with words right now and making my book better.
Awesome.
How's yours going?
My final chapter turned into my penultimate chapter,
Mhm.
as it inspiring today's episode, which is about ending your book. But I am very close to being done. Shane, my beloved Shane, is in Mexico City this week. I saw him off this morning at the airport. He is shooting a commercial. So I will take advantage of him not being around and entertaining me to finish, or at least get most of the way to finishing the book at last. It's about damn time, Kerr.
Mhm.
It's about damn time.
Okay. I'm
I
gonna believe it when I
look.
see it.
My problem is that I have been trying. I don't blame you, by the way. I have been trying to stop myself from editing the book, and I'm going. Oh wait, I've got that. I've been picking out like
Oh,
plot
yeah.
holes.
Going back and editing,
It's
it's a trap.
not good. Don't
It's a
do it.
trap.
Don't do it. I'm doing things though to keep myself on track. So when I'm not 100% sure about what I'm doing something very un-Megan, which is when I'm not sure how I want something to be, I'm putting the word something happens here in brackets instead of trying to figure it out, because I really am trying to move forward. But a lot of what we're going to talk about today, it's going to come out of the terror that I've been in for the past couple of weeks about finishing my book. Kirk very helpfully commented on my Blue Sky post about how my final chapter became my penultimate chapter with a gif of the never ending story. Thank you so much. It is because it is kind of a way of life for me, but it probably shouldn't be. So we're going to talk today about finishing your goddamn book. And warning, content warning for people who don't love trains, I am going to be talking a lot about trains. we are on the crazy train. I also love trains. So what a great synergistic moment for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what the fuck do we mean when we talk about endings? So, endings are not actually where the book just stops. There is a final word, there is a final sentence, a final paragraph, a final chapter. But endings aren't just those last things. You are building up to them as you're coming down from the climax in most
Hmm.
books. Not in every book, but in most books, you're going to have a climax near the end where everything that you've been building up towards, all of the pressure is going to come to a point, and then you're at the peak of your emotion, the peak of the action, and everything goes kaboom. And your ending is dealing with the fallout for
Yeah.
good or for bad.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where you're going to keep your promises. That's where everything that you started to set in motion with your first few paragraphs is going to be tied up, hopefully. So I'm going to keep coming back to this concept of promises that we have in books. We make a number of promises to our readers throughout drafting a book, in terms of genre, in terms of tone, in terms of characterization, and also motifs. And if these things, kind of fade out and don't get tied up, readers can tell. You might not be able to tell when you finish your book, like, oh my God, I've got all these loose ends. If you just put it out there like that and you don't edit it, your readers are going to be like, what the hell did I just read? And why did I pay any money or spend any time doing that? So I'm putting my hand up here. I started rereading my book and I was like, wow, that's a promise I haven't kept. So,
Uh, that's true, and you'll catch that when you're editing. Like once you've actually finished your book, you go back and you start editing. Like you're gonna pick up all kinds of just what I tend to find in my stories is well, yes, promises unkept for sure. I also will have I I do Chekhov's gun really badly. So I'll have somebody like I'll just call out like a rifle above the door or something, right? And then that rifle never shows back up again. Like I was just in my mind, I'm just thinking I'm setting the scene inside the cabin or whatever, right? Like there's a rifle across the door and some antlers over here, and then later on, I'm like, oh, I called out a gun, like.
yep. And I'm certain almost all of our listeners will be familiar with the concept of Chekhov's gun, but essentially the premise is that if you introduce a gun and put it on the table in Act 1, somebody better use that gun by the end of the play or the book.
And that
Oh.
generally applies to, like, I mean, it's yes, guns, but like, something that you're calling attention to,
Mhm,
right? So if you call attention to a letter opener, that letter opener had better make an appearance somehow,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
Usually in someone's throat by act three.
Ooh.
Uh, or if you're paying a lot of attention to a car parked in the driveway,
Mhm.
um, that that then, there should be a reason why you're describing, the rims and the paint job and the leather interior and all of this. So yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be necessarily objects. It can also be motifs.
That's
So
right.
I have
Chekhov's motif, very
Chekhov's
famous.
motif. Yeah. Yeah. It's the little brother of Chekhov's
Uh-huh.
gun. I have a motif in my book of cages. So I there isn't a literal cage at the end of the book, but there's something that functions as a cage at the end of the book. So having had the idea of the end of the book before I had the motif, I then had to create a motif that didn't telegraph the end very obviously.
Yeah.
But you can do it the other way around. You can come up with a motif, but you need to make sure that the motif pays off in the end. I have a number of motifs that I've noticed so far in my book that I've decided are like don't actually serve a purpose, or I can't tie them up, or like what are they adding? So That's for editing.
And Stephen King famously wrote in on writing, things like themes and motifs. Like, don't bend yourself over backwards trying to figure out the themes and the motifs in your book.
Oh, yeah.
Write the book, and you know what? They just happen to show up
It's
typically.
so true. When I wrote my first book, I had no idea that there were particular themes in it until I read it again.
Yeah.
And then I went, "Wow, I'm not too bad at this." But yeah, don't do it. If they need to be organic, or your readers are also going to feel it too. But also, some books just stop. They just end. That might not necessarily be what you wanted it to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say what so your act 3, in the 3-act book is comprised of the falling action and the resolution, right? So, if your book just stops, if you've hit your climax and then you've made that the end of your book, you've just made a 2-act book. Like, your ending really is your act 3. That whole act 3 is your ending.
Mhm.
I mean, I've read published books where, to me, it was a 2-act book and then a 3-act structure, right? So
Mhm.
it just stops, and you're like, "Okay, and then what?"
It makes me think of, sometimes you see movies, especially like, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. At the end, at the very end, it stops, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we do have a resolution, but it just stops and
Mhm.
freezes. There are books that are like that, where it just comes to a halt.
It can it probably can work better in cinema than it can in a book. Readers are just conditioned to, once you've had the climax, to just have this come down, and if you're denying the reader the come down, it's just very unsatisfying.
I have a theory about this, and it may or may not be correct. And comparing books to movies in this regard. With books, you're almost certainly spending more than an hour and a half to 2 hours in this world. You're
Mhm.
often spending days in this world,
Mhm.
and you're so invested in the people and the places and the scenarios that ending things feels deeply unsatisfying and like you've been cheated.
Mhm.
In movies, you're investing maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe 3 hours of your time. So, if you get a Butch Cassidy ending, you can say, "Okay, well, that's an artistic choice."
Uh-huh.
And you leave, and you walk out of the cinema, and you are into the light, and your life goes on. Books are with you longer, and so you invest more, and so you kind of identify with the text more.
I buy that. I buy that.
Yeah. I've been, like, digging back down into my critical theory beginnings, recently. I had a very long discussion with Shane last night or the night before about why the vertical formats are filling the, soap opera-shaped hole in American society that we don't need to talk about here. But there are books for which the abrupt ending will work. These are often experimental works. They are often literary fiction, but I will posit this, and I suspect you'll agree with me, that even if you are writing a series and there is stuff that is being telegraphed is going to continue happening, you still need to resolve this book that you're in right now.
Oh,
Or
for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
you want to have people, you want to whet their appetite for the next book in the series. But at the same time, if you are not wrapping things up or enough things up, people are going to be mad.
Yeah, I mean, me, but probably almost anybody listening to this podcast, you're not good enough to leave an entire book on a satisfying cliffhanger to set up the next. Now, I know it's done. I've read plenty of series where, by big name authors who managed to pull that off and keep me hooked into the series, right? But they are big name authors.
Mhm.
I'm kind of trailing off into the weeds here a little bit. But first of all, if you're going to go look for an agent, your book has to be self-contained. You can't do it. No book, no agent is going to take a sequel, no, or a cliffhanger at the end of the book. It has to be self-contained. But even if you're self-publishing, And maybe especially if you're self-publishing, your readers are gonna feel a little bit cheated. They're gonna feel like, well, they're trying to get me to spend more money on the next book,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And even if let's say that doesn't even cross their mind, you're still not telling a complete story. And a book, for the most part, really does need to be a complete story.
Yes. And I say this as somebody who is about to finish, I promise, the first book in a planned 3-book
I don't believe
series.
you. I don't believe you.
I really am. I'm really gonna do it. I'm really gonna do it. Um, and and I had tried to make this one book, and I realized, no, there's actually a lot more that I wanna talk about here. It's not just about a relationship, like, that's toxic and terrible. It's about honestly, about how toxic and terrible America's relationship is to its capital markets, especially during, the Great Recession. So there are this is a larger thing. I needed a bigger canvas. Still, I have an end to book 1. And Kirk is totally right that if you're writing a series, your readers are going to want to see the next book. And if when you publish that first book, if you go to market with your book 1 and your book 2 is not substantially ready or like already like in production, I see it online all the time. Where's book 2? Where's book 3? But the problem is when you write a series, you start creating
Yeah.
expectations
Yeah.
like an end. Because we expect our stories to have an end. Now, if you're writing a serial, that's something totally different, but most of us are not writing soap operas. So we need to be thinking about endings. Now, in my first book, I actually wrote my ending halfway through drafting the book. The ending changed quite a bit by the time I finished writing and revising it, but essentially the bones were the same. Anyway, probably we should also talk a little bit about how genres shape expectations. So, for the classic example, romances, happily ever after, maybe
Mhm.
a happily for now.
Mhm.
You gotta have it. If you don't, you didn't write a romance. Sorry, that's frankly what it is. If you're writing a horror novel, you have more leeway. I'm sure you know, Kirk, but you can end it with an upbeat note or downbeat, as many bodies as you want. But
But
you,
even in horror, there are expectations, things like the main character never comes away unscathed. That's very horror tropey. If you write a horror where the character comes out the other end, um, just like not deeply traumatized or something. And it's not like there's other books. I mean, every book you want the character to go through a growth arc, right? In
Mhm,
horror, though, there's trauma at the end.
mhm.
That's pretty much a staple of horror for the most part.
That's why you're reading horror, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're coming of age, literally. They come of
Mhm.
age. They grow from a child into an adult. They've changed. Women's fiction, the woman is also undergoing some sort of transformation in her understanding of herself as a woman in the society of her time. Fantasy.
Well, I mean, fantasy obviously is going to have, fantastical elements, right? It's right there in the
Yeah.
name. There's so many variations of fantasy, but if we want to stick with, let's say, swords and sorcery
Okay.
fantasy, right? There are expectations in swords and sorcery. There's going to be the hero, whether this is the chosen one, right?
Uh,
There's going to be the mission. There's going to be probably some big bad, things like that, right?
mhm.
Um, and then, historical novels, typically the expectation for a historical novel is that it is set in the past. I don't know if you knew that.
I never would have known. Wow, it does what it says on the tin. Holy
Yeah, it's
cow.
crazy. It's crazy.
So, we should probably talk about what makes a good ending and what makes a bad ending. So what do we mean when we say that an ending works?
Right. let's take something like so something that like everybody knows. Like I could point out a book, but let's talk about a movie because everybody knows movies. Let's talk about a movie like Star Wars, the original Star Wars. So the ending is not when the Death Star gets blown up, right? That's the climax.
Mhm.
The ending is the big ol' ceremony at the end where everybody but Chewbacca gets a medal,
Justice
'cause
for Chewbacca.
seriously. So, that's the ending. It's all everything kinda gets tied up. The main characters are all reunited again, and, they've all come through their own different kinda, journeys to finally reunite here at the that's the ending. That's the real ending. So, we're not talking about climaxes here. We're talking about endings because think about if you were watching Star Wars and the moment the Death Star explodes, the credits roll. Like, that
Yeah.
would that wouldn't be that satisfying, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I would probably go, "Oh, man."
Yeah.
And, yeah,
I
like,
wanted to see Chewbacca not get a medal.
maybe they were worried that, like, the metal would catch in his fur or something like that. I don't know.
I think they're just racist against Wookiees. I have a whole theory on that. I'm gonna
That's for another episode.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's gonna be our special 2-hour episode.
the Wikipedia
Yes.
edition. Yeah, it's earned endings, right? This concept of earned endings and unearned endings. So earned endings, they kind of grow out of everything that you've gone through before with these characters. This is tying the bows, this is, using that gun that Chekhov put on the table or the rifle Kirk put over the door. You're going to see all of their choices, all of the consequences, everything, the change. You're going to see all of these things resolve. So you're looking for payoffs, emotional payoffs.
Mhm.
So like if you have had, well, the Odyssey just came out, right? Uh, uh, Spoiler alert, he comes home.
Oh, great.
Yeah, sorry. If you didn't know, so all of the longing and the drive to get to home pays off. He is reunited with his family and with his, with his home. Um, so perhaps it is revenge, and the revenge that you've been building up towards for, some God, I keep talking about movies. I Spit on Your Grave. Okay. Controversial.
Classic.
It's a
Classic.
honestly, if you do like shock horror movies, it's not that shocky, but like it is schlocky. It's it's revenge. It's the whole thing is a revenge arc. She gets revenge. So that's what you're looking for.
Mhm.
You are trying to make it feel that every decision, every large decision that you have made in the book has an actual consequence for good or for bad, right?
Mhm.
So satisfying or unsatisfying to the character, but needs to be satisfying to the reader. Unearned resolutions, Ex Machina is classic. Like it is the author going, throwing up their hands going, "I don't fucking know what I'm doing. Like, let's just send the gods to fix this huge ass
Yeah.
plot hole."
Yeah.
Um, it's you can tell, right? Too many coincidences. That is something that I know that when I'm drafting, I'm like when I start doing coincidences and I'm like, No, 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 no. How can I have the thing that I want? How can I make that happen and make it feel inevitable? So if you are throwing in characters at the very end who fix things, the cousin Oliver syndrome that I have, the note I have here. Uh,
Mhm.
if you are old enough and American, you may be familiar with the Brady Bunch and how they brought in the character of cousin Oliver near the end of the run because the Brady kids weren't
They
that
were all
cute
growing
anymore.
up.
They were all
Yeah.
growing up. They weren't that cute anymore. Unfortunately, they brought in an extremely irritating character, Cousin Oliver, to try to fix the problems. Cousin Oliver did not fix the problems. He actually probably hastened the end of this show because you can't fix problems without an organic solution. You need to be within the world of your book. If you're bringing somebody in at the end who fixes everything up, nobody cares if you bring in a dentist at the end of the book who fixes not the teeth of the hero who's been having problems with his teeth all along, but the dentist is there to, I don't know, like fix the car.
I am enjoying watching you struggle with making this
I
continue
I
so
really
much, and it's great.
should.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks,
No, it's
thanks.
fantastic.
This is me, ad-libbing, ad-libbing. But readers can tell when you're trying to shoehorn something in to fix a problem. Put the effort in, it'll pay off.
Yeah,
You can do it.
if your resolution, or actually if any problem is resolved in your book through something like a coincidence or just sheer luck, that's kind of a red flag. You can probably get away with it, like, throughout your book. You might be able to get away with one lucky
Mhm.
happenstance, but if it keeps happening, uh,
Yeah,
there's a problem. And if your book resolves over blind luck, then it's like, well, why did we read the whole book
yeah.
if they just at the very end they just happen to get lucky?
I have a point at near the end of my book, without giving too much away, that where the main character's husband finds her while she is walking in a place that's very special to her in her
Mhm.
hometown that he isn't familiar with. And I was like, I really need this to happen. So how do I make it happen without making it feel like a total coincidence? I had to start laying the groundwork like 16 chapters before. That's the way that it works. You can make these things that can be like coincidences,
Mhm.
be happy accidents, but they're not actually accidents if you have seeded it throughout your book. The steps that make it possible. And it's not as hard as you might think. It can often be a sentence that you add in a chapter here, a chapter there. It doesn't actually take that
Well,
much.
you can also stand a coincidence on its ear because, one character might think it's a coincidence, and it turns out that the other character manipulated it, staged it, whatever, and,
Yeah,
turns out, oh, it wasn't a coincidence. Like, that's a cool twist.
that is a cool, yeah. Yeah, and plot twists are a thing. But you need to make it feel real or real enough so that it doesn't have this coming in out of the blue to save the author's big ass problems of a
Mhm.
plot
Yeah.
hole. So don't do it. This is me making an X. You can't see me because now we're recording audio only. But don't do it. Great endings, as I said before, great endings are going to feel inevitable, even when they feel terrifying.
Mhm.
Um, they can also feel unexpected, and oftentimes that feels great. Like, wow, I didn't see that coming, but it
Sure.
feels earned because everything's been leading up to that moment. And you're like, I didn't see all of these things, but now in this moment, I see how all of this makes sense. It can feel very satisfying to a reader who feels um, clever enough to have picked up on all the breadcrumbs along the way, right? So you're looking for emotional resonance and intellectual satisfaction at the same time. So you can have one, right? You can have all the feels. You can also have all the thanks, but why not both? Again, if your reader feels like they're at the end and they're seeing everything paying off, they think they're smart because I'm smart enough to have seen everything that you, the author, has done. So you're smart, I'm smart, we all win. Bleh. So if you can do it. You got to have at least one though.
That's
You have
right.
to have the emotions or the things.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
you also don't need to tie everything up at the end of the book. Not even if you're writing a series, like if you're writing a standalone, you also don't need to have everything tidy. I know there are some people who really hate it as readers when things aren't totally tidy. I am not one of those people because even when I'm reading fantasy or, kind of classic romance, I want to feel that these are real people or people like, you know, creatures that have messiness and chaos in their lives. Otherwise, it just feels like just saccharine and weird.
Yeah, and I actually like to put a few kind of unexplained things in my
Hmm.
book. You don't have to explain yourself completely thoroughly. It's okay to leave a little mystery in your world.
Yeah.
Just
And
as
all,
long as there's nothing that, nothing major that hangs on it.
yeah. You also may think that you have completely explained things, and there will be readers who have no clue what you did.
Yeah.
That is okay. You do not need to have a satisfying ending for every single person who reads this book. I spent some time on Goodreads today. Whenever I'm feeling like weird about my book, I have I have
Go to
two.
Goodreads.
I go to Goodreads, and there are two books that I look at all the time. Two of my favorite books: Middlemarch by George Eliot and
Yeah.
Bleak House by Charles Dickens.
Okay.
Um, classic novels. Um, both considered, especially Middlemarch, to be amongst the best works of fiction in the English language. And yet, they have some really poor reviews, not just like, had to read it for school, I fucking hated it. But lengthy reviews about what is wrong with these novels and why they are unsatisfying.
Mhm.
Uh, and many of the things that I think are great about these novels, people hate. And, you can be George Eliot and write the finest work of fiction in the English language, and you're still going to have haters. It's okay. It's like, it's fine. You're not going to please everyone. And when you start to please everyone or thinking about pleasing everyone, that's when you lose your voice. That's when you lose the friction the friction in your fiction. Sorry about that.
Ooh,
Uh,
very clever.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was awful.
that was for free. That was for free. So make it pay off, but you don't have to be everything for everyone. So this next portion is me talking to myself. It is called How to Guide the Train into the Station and Stop because Megan doesn't know how to stop the train. I am in the just one more chapter trap right now. Okay. So I'm going to put myself in the analyst chair and analyze myself right now. Am I avoiding the end or am I a terminal perfectionist? Not that my books are perfect in the first draft or even their alleged final draft. Am I afraid to close the door on characters that I love, on situations that I love, to just make it stop? Or do I actually have a story that isn't actually finished and I'm lying to myself that I have an ending to this book? I think it's more of, for myself, the former. I've been living with these characters for so long, it's really hard to let them
Mhm.
go.
Mhm.
Uh, and I do. I have to let them go, or else, again, you're writing a serial, and not a novel. So, in order to do that, I have a list of practical questions for myself that others might find useful. I'm just trying to share with you, and give you some insight into the maelstrom in my mind right now. Um, have the book's central questions been answered? You don't have to be perfect, but you need to address them. Has your protagonist changed or failed to change in any meaningful way? That is perhaps one of like the key question. Unless you're writing experimental fiction, somebody needs to change.
For sure.
And are you writing towards something like an end? Or are you writing away from it? Like writing away from actually having to end this motherfucking book. And this is the one that really just keeps sticking with me. Is your new chapter actually adding to the story or is it just there to make you feel better? and to help you procrastinate from the grief of
Yeah.
ending your book. Um, yeah.
And that's really where you need to put your reader hat on is, because I can wallow in my own pages. I love writing character moments that don't drive the story or anything like that, but is this gonna bore the hell out of a reader? Probably. So that's a question that you really need to ask yourself too, is am I drawing this out for a good reason? Or am I drawing this out, like you say, because I don't want to let these characters go? And I think a lot of writers identify with that is I just want to hold on to them for a little longer. So you know what? If this is what you need to do, write a short story with your main characters,
Mhm.
right? Or
Mhm.
do something and have art commission. I don't know.
Do
Um,
something. Yeah.
yeah, do something. Don't mess with your story because you have feelings.
Look, if it in my first book, I had an entire chapter of backstory about how the main character and her big bad met. Um, it's a long chapter. I actually really like the chapter. I completely cut it.
Sure.
And then what I did instead was I wrote for my writing circle a poem in rhyming verse ab- about that night. And I have this, and if this book ever sees the light of day, I have a freebie. I have an entire poem which I have read aloud to my high school classmates actually, who were drunk enough to think it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So
That's perfect.
yes, yes. You can do things with these things, but I'm not going to say resist the temptation. If you need to write it out, write it out. Just know that you're probably going to have to axe it, but if you need to get it out of you, get it out of you.
Right.
If it's not servicing the ending though, it's just for you and that's okay. Don't
Yeah.
subject your readers to it. And again, you need to understand the difference between my book is not done and I'm just scared to be done.
Yeah.
Your ending that you do on your first draft is not going to be your real ending, and that's totally cool. Nothing is set in stone unless you are chiseling your book into stone, in which case that's another problem.
And this is a great uh kind of advantage if you're an outliner. So if you're an outliner, um you're driving towards your ending. You know what your ending is. And so you know hopefully when to stop. With when you're pantsing, it's a
Yeah,
little less
yeah,
structured. So yeah.
yeah. I have an outline for this one. I know exactly how it's going to end. I just don't know how to stop the train. Um,
Okay.
keep putting railroad ties like
Uh-huh.
down on there.
Uh-huh.
Just keep laying track. It's gonna end at some point, hopefully by next weekend. So, you know, I've been talking about grief. And there is an emotional element to ending a book. And I think that we don't talk about it enough. We hear a lot about the active part of writing a book. We hear a lot about when a book is out there and being published and promoted. We don't talk about what it's like to have to say, bye.
Mhm.
That can both be at the end of drafting and also at the end of editing. There is the, I mean, with editing, you can always do another edit. It's true, but there is something that feels final, like it's done.
Mhm.
This whole world that you've created, you're saying goodbye to, and it is okay to miss being in this world, being with these people. Writing a book changes you. You are definitely not the same person at the start of that book as you are at the end. It's not just that your life has been going on in the background and all sorts of things that can happen to you. You can get married like I did, but also the very act of writing changes you. It
Absolutely.
changes your brain. So you are not that same person. It is okay to honor in whatever way you feel like that you are a different person. Um, I wrote down here, as much as you write the words write you too. And it is important, I think, for writers to understand that even though you're a creator, your creations have some part in forming who you are as you move on.
Yeah.
So it's okay to feel a little sad, even though you feel incredibly proud, and you should feel incredibly proud of what you do. So
It's also okay to feel, "Oh my god, thank God this book is over." 'Cause I have also felt that I have had both. I've been on both ends of that spectrum where I had a really hard time letting go, and then I also man, when I was done with that last page, I was like, "Thank God." And not that I hated my characters, not that I hated my stories, I was just so happy to have this story complete, and I felt like I had done justice to all of the
yeah.
characters in the book and everything like that. So, it's okay to have either one of those
Yeah,
feelings or
relief
anywhere in
is
between.
also good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In our first episode, we asked the question, "Are we still writers if we're not writing?"
Mhm.
So, you know, who are we when we stop writing? And the book is done. Done in serious scare quotes there. Um, we're still the same person. We're still writers. We're still doing our things. It's still the same answer that we had.
You're researching. That's what you're doing. You're researching.
You're researching, you're editing, you're thinking about the next book. You're, wasting time on threads. It's all of it. There's also the I can stop whenever I want. Um,
Yeah.
which I have a lot of, like, just one more. It's like this, just one more chapter. It's this looping in my
Yeah.
head because, like, what if my ending sucks? But if I never write the ending, I never have to know if my ending sucks. And what if my sucky ending proves that the book sucks? So if you just keep writing chapters, you never have to face these questions at all. That's a win. No, it actually isn't. I'm gonna put another vote out there for leaning on your community. We keep talking about it. Your community, this is their time to shine. They've been through this as well. They're gonna have sympathy. They're gonna have tips. They
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
going to listen to you. They're also gonna kick your ass when your ass needs kicking. When I finished my first book, I felt this incredible sense of relief at the end of the first draft. But then I looked at the word count and I said, I'm going to take a half an hour off and I'm going to start editing because damn, ain't nobody releasing a 144,000 word book. In retrospect, that was not a good way to do it. Now I know more, and I'm taking 2 weeks off between finishing this book and
Yeah.
starting to edit because I need a little bit of space. I thought, I don't have any time. No, I have time. As far as I know, I have time on this planet. Touch wood. So I can take a couple of weeks off to focus on other things. Querying, reading. The lovely Laura B has asked me to beta read her book at the end of this month.
Nice.
So yeah, she beta read mine. She did a fantastic job. I would love to return the favor. I will be working on that. I think I will feel more like relief this time than grief, especially since I have 2 more books planned. But the first time did feel hard, really
Mhm.
hard.
Mhm.
This time, maybe it's because I'm writing about a millennial that I'm just kind of like, whatever. No. Sorry, millennial listeners. Sorry, very sorry. You're all lovely, most of you. How did you feel, at the end of this very last one compared to the first book that that you wrote? You've
Yeah,
written a
this
lot of books.
well, I've written 3. Okay, so I've finished a couple books, but I'm not happy with them, so I'm
Okay.
not sure that I consider them finished. But
Okay. So
if you
of the
really wanna
big
get
3.
technical, it's probably been like, I don't know, 6 or
Okay.
something, but
Let's talk about the first 3. About these 3 this that you've done.
so, yeah, no, my very first one, I did, I lingered, and I outlined very heavily. I saw the ending. I knew exactly where I was at any given time. I knew where the ending I was dreading it. I was dreading coming to that ending. And so I would kind of linger on a chapter as I'm leading up to it. And when I did write those final words, Megan, I kid you not, I had actual tears in my eyes. But this third book, this third complete book that maybe will see the light of day, I was just very satisfied with it. I I
Okay.
again, I love my and I especially love this is one of my favorite main characters ever. She is an absolute mess throughout the entire book, and I love her. Like, I love this woman, like, as a daughter. So, yes, I had some kind of sad feels when it was over, but mostly I was just very satisfied that I had told a pretty good story. It's gonna get better as I edit it, but I told a pretty good story, and so I didn't have that kind of sadness that I had with the first book.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, look, this is me. I'm the problem. It's me. I am really looking forward to finishing this book simply because I want to write the next one.
Yeah.
There is some messed up shit that happens in the second one. There is some crazy Delulu shit that happens in the second book. I want to get there. I've been doing research. I've been taking notes. I'm so ready. And whenever I start flagging in heading the train into the station of book one, I think I can't wait to start. I have a whole set piece at a college reunion that I did research at my own college reunion for, even though everybody's a lot younger at this college reunion I'm writing about. But like, who do people interact with each other at reunions when they haven't seen each other in a long period of time? Like, how do relationships kind of slot back into familiar grooves? And how does time allow you to be more open and bold in your interactions with people? And I really want to go there. Also, I want to talk about 2009's financial crisis. I've been in 2008 for so long. I trust me. I'm going to make the Great Recession sexy. Boom.
You will
That's
be the first.
no, I'm not. The Big Short was amazing.
Oh, that's true. The Big Short was yeah.
Highly recommend The Big Short if you have not seen it yet. It is.
Was
It
that
also has
that was
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie,
You
yes,
know,
Say No More. I yeah,
Margot
okay.
Robbie in a bathtub. Don't forget that. But let's talk some hot goss.
Let's do it.
So this week we're going to talk about something extremely deep. So
As we do.
as we always do, and I I said I was getting deep down into my cultural and literary theory these days, which is why I want to talk about why people hate sprayed edges on books. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
So there has been some chatter down in the deep, deep cesspool of threads about sprayed edges and why do people bother with sprayed edges? Why do people want sprayed edges on their books? And is it, as I've seen in some threads, just a cash grab, either by the author, if they're an indie, or by their publisher, if they're trad? And let me just select a few choice words. I'm not going to say who this poster was for their protection because this is dumb. The more
It is
elaborate,
still
it's very dumb. The more elaborate the sprayed edges and cover are when a book is first released, the worse the story and writing will be. This rule has not failed me yet. This rule does not include special edition releases after a book has been published normally. Um,
yeah. I'm
yeah.
glad they laid out the rules of how sprayed edges
Yes.
indicate the level of writing and craft in a book. That makes total sense.
Yes. And
Jeez.
every mid-ass book has sprayed edges.
Right, right.
They care more about the aesthetic than the actual story being told.
Every time I read a shit book, I look at the edge and I go, God damn it.
Yeah.
They got me again with the sprayed edges. I didn't even notice this time.
Damn it. Damn it. I was so distracted by all that gold leaf. And it is, as one commenter also says, I don't like color and whimsy. Fix that for you. Um, you know,
I know
you,
I'm gonna take a contrary position here. I'm gonna say, you know what? Sprayed edges are kind of fun. They're kind of cool.
I agree with you.
Right? Like,
I
well,
agree with you.
I don't think that's a controversial opinion. Like, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's just more, like, go out, touch grass, spend some time in the sunlight,
seriously.
get a dog. I don't know but you clearly need to be away from your computer if this is the thing that you're gonna post about. It just,
Look,
um
uh,
and yeah, you know what? Hey, secret here. Yeah, sprayed edges are a cash grab. Um,
sure.
anything special edition is a cash grab
Yeah,
because they
got
could
it.
just put out the same book again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it is to get you to buy a book. Guess what? Cool book covers are a cash grab. They are to get you to buy a book.
mhm, mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Look, you can have what many people think of as a mid-ass book, Catcher in the Rye, classically with a cover that was maroon and with gold lettering. No, like yellow lettering in the States. Most high school students of an age read this book, and it was, well, some people like it more than others, shall we say. Others people would say it was mid-ass. But if they want to put one out with sprayed edges, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? Read what you want. A lot of this to me reads as posturing by people who want to be seen as being more serious readers than all these, dumb schmucks who get suckered in by dragons being painted on the edges. And look, if you spend any time with old books, as I have, as a former bookseller and as the daughter of a rare bookseller, you will find very old books with the equivalent of sprayed edges.
yeah, sure. This is not a new thing. I
No.
mean, the technology has gotten better, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And beautiful marbled interior pages and all of this has existed for centuries. This
Mhm.
isn't anything new. We've talked about it before. Books are objects. They are material culture in addition to being words on a page and thoughts that are being
Yeah,
communicated to
yeah.
you. They are both. It and it's okay. It is okay to want something pretty. It is okay to have something that tickles that part of you. It doesn't make you a shitty reader. And who cares if you're a shitty reader? Honestly, missing? Who cares? Sorry.
You
Sorry.
know,
Just getting worked up again.
I can tell when a book is gonna be really bad just by seeing, did they use Garamond? Yeah,
Ooh.
it's just
Ooh.
it's gonna be bad. That's gonna be my new hot threads take,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's gonna be just
Okay.
as relevant. Yeah.
Um, honestly, yes, it is just as relevant. It really is. And books have the value that we ascribe to them. Does it have more value if it has, an author's signature on it? Yes, but why? Because somebody said so. Does it have more value because it has, beautiful edges? Yes, because somebody says it does. Or
Mhm.
doesn't. You get to choose whether or not you want to pay that price. You get to choose whether or not it's worth it. That's your choice. I'm not going to. Sometimes I think I look at these sprayed edges. I'm like, not for me. I don't care. Sometimes I go, oh, cool. I'm still not going to buy it. Or, oh, cool. I want it. It's all different. I'm not consistent. I'd like to think that I have a fairly normal take about these things. If this is the hill that you're going to die on, I suggest you find a higher hill.
Yeah.
Uh, it
'Cause it's the valley you wanna die on, really.
yeah, it
See what I did there? Yeah.
I did. Ooh. Again, you know, just riff in here,
I'm
folks.
a writer. This stuff just comes out of my head. Yeah.
Kaboom. Also, somebody made the comment, which, although true, kind of misses the point for me. Uh, the way bookshelves work, those fancy sprayed edges just face the back of the bookshelf. Uh, yes, that's true.
Okay.
But sometimes your books are not on a shelf. Sometimes they're in your literally your TBR. I have so many TBR piles right now. They are colonizing now. Um, Decolonize my house of its TBR piles, and that's a note to self. I should just read them.
Well, but again, it misses the point because it's not about the sprayed edge facing the back of the bookcase. It's about how poorly written books have sprayed edges. That's the key
Yeah.
takeaway there. The real connection there.
Yeah.
The Charlie Day murder board you've
And
got
again,
going on there. Yeah.
and which books are more likely to have sprayed edges? There are certain genres. And
Mhm.
romantasy
Mm.
and romance. And 2 out of 3 of those are female coded, whether we like it or not. And it's again that when ladies be reading, it ain't serious. Or fantasy is not serious work. That, there are serious books by serious writers for serious readers. And if you're not reading these serious books, what kind of reader are you? You read trash.
I want my historical thriller to be the first historical thriller to have a sprayed edge. That's what I want.
I think you've missed that boat already.
I might have.
I'm just thinking it's probably likely. Who cares? Make it if you want to make it pretty. And just
I agree. I
because,
want a pretty book.
yeah, look, if you want to read about, you know, dragon fuckery, that doesn't make you a less serious reader. Honestly, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Thank you for reading at all.
Thank you. Thank you, friends. So, our main takeaway today is that I promise you I'm finishing my book. You can also finish your book. Kirk finished his book. We can all finish our books. And also, I do love trains. So, if you want to send me train pictures, you can send them to me and
Boy, that's
at
bold.
badlitfriends
That's
at
bold.
gmail.com.
I will
Um,
not be checking email, the Badlit Friends email for the next couple
no.
weeks. You may check for trains. Yes.
Particularly if you have any pictures of from Great Western Railway trains up until about 1960 through the time when the British Rail started making the move from steam to diesel. If you've got GWR steam pictures, I would love to see them. Um, I told you I love trains. Um,
Yeah. You know the
uh,
kind of trains we're gonna get though, right?
I don't want those ones. I am wholesome. But you can find us. We are Badlit Friends on all of the evil socials. We are at Threads. Of course, we're on Threads. We don't actually post anything on Threads, but we do read a lot of stuff on Threads. We are on Instagram. We are on Blue Sky. Email us, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I found us on iHeartRadio. Finally, we've moved on up into the world. Um, subscribe to our YouTube listeners. Thank you. Also, next week we continue to talk about various parts of a novel, and because we're like this, we're going backwards in time. We're going to talk about soggy middles and how to avoid them, but more realistically, how to fix them. Everybody does it. And Anne Wells is not going to be able to join us on the episode dropping August 7th, like I thought she might. But we're going to have some surprise guests.
Yeah.
Plural. Plural. It's going to be exciting. Also, big thank you to Laura B, who brought us some super secret joy on Blue Sky this week. Laura, you know what we're talking about. As I said, subscribe. It helps get us and our demented message out to everyone. And thank you if you've already been doing that. But until next time, we will see you then.
Bye.